Excuse me. Nope. Not yet. She's getting there. Alright. Let's put fluid in.
What up, guys? Alright, so pretend that you were there with me and I put the camera underneath the car when I removed the gas tank. Sorry, I didn't have it turned on. Let me catch you up. So when we went to fire up the car, I disconnected the fuel lines from the fuel pump because I didn't want to pull whatever nastiness was in the tank or in the lines. And I hooked up to just a clean supply of fuel, and the fuel pump wasn't pumping. So I ordered a new fuel pump. I already got it. I already installed. You can pretend you were there with me on that one too. But in the meantime, while I was waiting on that part to come in, I said, you know what? Let me just drop this gas tank and take a look inside and see. I could tell by the smell of the gas cap that it smelled like deck varnish. So I knew it was going to be dirty, but I didn't know how bad. I thought it would be pretty good because, you know, it looks awful pretty. That's what silver spray paint will do for you. It'll make it look really pretty. Really, somebody just put lipstick on a pig, because once I took this fuel sending unit out, look at this. Yep. Oh my god. Holy shit on a shingle. Look at this. Look at it. Just look at it. Look at it. Just look at it. Do you see it? Look at it. Bro, that is disgusting. Oh yeah, that is not good. Okay. What else is not good is that you can't get that sending unit anymore. They just don't make it. That's made out of unobtainium. And the gas tank itself, when you look inside of there, it looks just like that damn sending unit. I mean, it is gnarly inside. It's one of the worst I've ever seen. And I found 2 shop rags down in there. So somebody decided when they were working on the tank, I don't know what, that, you know, putting shop rags in there would be a great idea. Was not a great idea. Yep. So rather than take all the time in the world and try to get a new tank option or try to get it cleaned out, I got a new tank. I went to Summit Racing, and surprise, surprise, they don't have parts for an Oldsmobile 98. But I went out on a limb and I looked up the part number for the gas tank on the 1972 Tornado, the Cutlass, the 442, all had the same gas tank. So, you know what, I gambled and said, I bet you it was the same gas tank that they used on the 98 too. And it's pretty darn close. It's a little bit wider, don't care. And the neck is kind of a different angle. That's not a big deal. When I get this under the car, if this new neck doesn't line right up with my license plate, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it off. I'm going to cut off the old one, and then I'll just hook it on with a piece of hose and put some hose clamps on there. And I don't think the judges at SEMA will notice it at all. You know what I mean? Okay. Well, we will blow out the gas lines and install this bad boy, and hopefully have a running car here soon. So I got the gas tank in, and like I suspected, the dimensions are a little bit off, but we're going to make it work no matter what. So I used some pretty quality shims, meaning pieces of 2x4, to space it right. But the tank is a lot narrower than the old one. As a result, I had to push it kind of far back into the space where it belongs, and the hoses that hook up on there, there's a gap of about this much. So I ended up actually building a couple extension tubes to go from the gas tank to the existing lines. You know, I could just replace the existing lines, but we're definitely not going to do that today. So that'll work. I don't think the judges at SEMA are going to notice. And also, the fuel extension neck was about 6 inches too short. So because that was short, I made this. What? Yep. So that ought to work pretty good. Alright, let's get it installed. Alright, so here's what I was just talking about. The fuel feed and return are over here, and the original ends of these lines are back here, and I am not rerouting them. Are you focused? That's all you're focused. Focus! Okay, well, right over here in this blurry area, was the original lines, so I made some extensions. Same thing down here for the vent. And now I just need to, I think, put a little self-tapper up there, and I'll hook up the ground for my fuel sending unit, and the fuel system should be done. Alright, and now when you bring the license plate holder down, the fuel neck extension device that I created is in the proper place. And I was able to get a gas cap by rummaging through every gas cap bin that AutoZone has. And it fits perfect. Yeah, I can't think of anything else that you would call that long, phallic looking thing. Fuel system done.
Hi. It's the next day. And I don't think I can work on my car today. What is this? We live in Tucson, Southern Arizona. Is it too much to ask for a little bit of global warming? I was wearing a t-shirt yesterday. Well, I guess we're gonna just fast forward again another day, and I'll see you when it's nice and sunny out.
Alright, so the fuel system's all done. We've got it hooked up to the fuel pump. I put a filter on there so I can see if the fuel pump is actually going to be pulling once we start cranking on it. So the first thing we're going to do is, I got my son in the driver's seat. We're just going to crank on it and see if the cranking alone will give us a little bit of suction on that fuel pump and fill up the carbs. If not, we'll bottle feed it for a bit, and we'll see if we can't get her to start up and then pull fuel on her own. Here we go. Alright, buddy, go ahead and crank on it. Ready? All the way. Keep going. Don't stop. Okay, crank on it again for me. Hasn't been registered since 1983, and it's idling. Just like that, changing out the gas tank, the fuel pump. This thing's idling. Hasn't ran since 1983. How about that? Might help if I check my oil. Yeah, she runs again. I was a little concerned that my coolant was seeping in to the oil. And I might just be being paranoid. But it was based on how nasty that coolant was down in the block. Let's see. Nope, not a chance. She's full right where she should be. Looking good. Alright. Now I'll fire her up again. Get her running, get her idling. And we'll check that coolant. Probably have to top it off a little bit. So here's the deal. I changed out those freeze plugs and they're still leaking. So there's that. Not a big deal. I can still go back in there and I can yank those out. I can put in the compression fittings, even though I did kind of lube the edge of those freeze plugs in JB Weld so that they'd never come out again. So that's going to be fun. The radiator has developed a leak. It's cracked in 2 places, which also not a big deal. I can braze that or solder it or put more of my leftover JB Weld on it. But the big issue so far is that it's not shifting into gear. Not even trying to shift into gear. Fluid's a little low. It's still on the dipstick though. Low fluid can cause it to not shift for sure. But I'm not so confident about that one. I really don't want to have to pull this motor and transmission. My troubleshooting skills on a Turbo 400 transmission are, you know, the shifter's hooked up, it's got fluid in it, it should go, right? No, we're gonna find out. We'll put some fluid in there and see if it does anything. After that, I might be searching for a transmission or asking around transmission shops, see if I can find somebody who can rebuild this one for me. It's not that I don't want to use new bolts. I do. But I'm a huge cheapskate. And to go all the way to the hardware store, go buy new bolts, it's gonna take some time, right? It's gonna take me, I don't know, probably take me 45 minutes to get there and back. It's gonna mess up my feng shui. I don't want my feng shui messed up. I'm in the zone. So I'll just run and tap and die over this and see. Brand new bolt. Done. Know that I put a whole new set of threads on it because it's probably the wrong die. Let's get you on there again. Go all the way down. Hi. eye doesn't want to go. Just force it. Can you see me? Am I standing too close? You ever talk to your grandma on FaceTime? And they hold the camera like right up to here and you're just looking up her nose. Can you see me? I haven't figured out this video thing very well yet. Brand new. Well, completely changed the thread pitch on that little guy. Let's clean you off. And do the other one. You know, it lasted since 1972 like that. So it'll, you know, last a little bit longer, I think. Yep. Come on. Not more old airplanes. What is going on? You know, for an old Air Force veteran who spent a long time working out on airplanes all day in the heat, when you see planes fly by, you're like a little kid. You just stop. I know that plane. Wonder where he's going. And we're right in the path for Davis Monthan Air Force Base. So we get to see them all day long. I get to see all my old babies fly by. I miss them. I love them. Good reminder of fun things and good people, good times spent. America. All right, I have got my mobile daylight canopy set up. And let me tell you guys what, if you don't have one of these 10 by 10 canopies in white, I suggest you get one. Shine a bright light up into there, it turns it into daylight underneath. Okay, I got the car up on jacks. I saved you the cinematic suspense of watching me do that. And I'm going to get underneath and I'm going to start taking apart the crossover pipe that comes off the header. And then we'll pull the passenger side header off and then we can have access to the freeze plugs. Alright, changing freeze plugs in the motor is about my most hated task ever. And I changed them once the right way and they started leaking. You see this little guy right here is on the engine block itself. And if you see this, but it immediately started leaking right away. And I really felt like I had a good seal on that one too. Now, the one that's up here, you see that little guy? So I changed that one out, and that one looked like a good seal as well, and I actually put a little bit of JB weld on there to hold her tight, which is going to make this awful. And then it started leaking. So, while the JB weld was still wet, I put a socket on there, and I tried to reseat it, and I kind of pushed the freeze plug into the motor some more, but then it stopped leaking, and I figured, oh, well, okay, I guess we're good. You know, and then 20 minutes later, it just opened up and started pouring. So, both of these freeze plugs got to come out. I could do them the right way again, and I could hammer some new brass or steel plugs in there. But I think what I'm going to do is we're going to put the expandable twist with a wrench type plugs and see what that does for us. So, let's open up this can of worms. God, I hate pulling out freeze plugs. My method on freeze plugs, which is probably not a great method, is usually to poke a hole in it and then try to pry it out. Now, I'm not super worried about this having liquid in it because I already took the radiator off and I drained out quite a bit of everything. I even flushed it with a hose. So we're gonna see if we can't poke a hole in here. Let's see what that's gonna do for us. Let's see. All right. Well, oh, okay. She's pouring. Yep, that's awful. Camera out of the way. Oh, muddy old water. I guess I take back what I said about there not being anything in the block. So we're just going to let that drain on our face until it's done. Dang it. Dang it. Ugh. That sucks. Then on my nice particle board creeper, at least the water that's coming out isn't too disgusting like it was the first time we did this. The first time it looked like embalming fluid that had been used. Come on, sweetie. Oh. Look at that. Still there. Give me a tap taparoo. I don't know if this is going to work, but I am desperate. I really don't want to have to take off the head. I don't want to have to take out the motor. She's pulling tight, I'll tell you that. Also spinning the whole thing. Is that gonna be enough to seal her up? Don't know. But I hope so. So now I'm just gonna need to wait until tomorrow and I can go find one for that guy right there. And we'll see. You ever feel like you can't win for losing? Can't lose for trying? Can't, you know what I'm trying to say. Can't get anything done. It's kind of how the last few days felt. When I left you, I needed a couple things. I got the plugs back into the car. I got the radiator in. Looked like it was holding some water. And I went to go find my exhaust gaskets for the exhaust manifold, the flange gaskets. And we're having a hard time finding them. The local AutoZone found one for us, but it was an hour away. So me and the wife hopped in the car and we drove out there. We drove out for the collector gaskets, radiator cap, thermostat, and a thermostat gasket. They had all of them in stock until they didn't. So we drove an hour for nothing. So got home and I just ordered them all online. And today they came in, but it was only the gaskets. The exhaust manifold collector gaskets. So I'm still waiting on radiator cap, I'm still waiting on thermostat, and I'm still waiting on a thermostat gasket. So I'm gonna do what I can. We're gonna put this exhaust manifold back on. But before we do, I went and got a tap for it. I'm gonna clean out these threads because the last thing I want to do is put this little guy back in and strip it out with the old bolts. Because they're not exactly making these manifolds anymore. You know what I mean? We'll get this back on, and then the only thing we'll be waiting on is the radiator cap and a thermostat. And then we can get this thing back on the road. I get over to the DMV, get it looked at, get some tags for it, and then we can start prowling the car shoes. Hi. Welcome to today's episode of The Idiot. I'm an idiot. Let me explain why. We had some cooling issues on the radiator, and noticed a crack up here in the top. And like an idiot, I decided that brazing was totally inside of my wheelhouse, having never done it before. I went to the store like an idiot and bought some bottles to braze it. I grabbed some rod, not knowing if it was the right rod. I watched one YouTube video and thought, I've totally got this. I didn't practice. I didn't seek out anyone for knowledge. And as expected, I burned a hole clean through this radiator. So, in all honesty, guys, it was something I wanted to try. I've seen it done before, and I figured, what the hell? Worst case Ontario here, if I have to get a new radiator, it's not the end of the world, but I at least wanted to give it a shot. I did give it a shot, and it didn't work out well. So, I'm going to use this opportunity to be educational for everybody, and just say, something like brazing is a highly technical skill. It's like welding. I can stick two pieces of metal together with a welder, but I'm not going to trust them, and I'm not going to NASA anytime soon to try to weld on the shuttle. Alright, it would take a lot more practice for me to get there. So if brazing is something you want to try, practice. Seek out somebody who knows what they're doing. Look for a mentor on the subject, and so you don't end up quite where I did with this one. But that's not the end of me being an idiot. So, once I destroyed this one, and I'll show you the hole that I put in there, I headed over to Facebook Marketplace to look for a deal on a new radiator. And I found one, and I found a great deal on a radiator. Let me show you. I found this little guy that somebody was selling for $100. It's brand new. It's a 3-core. It's great. Well, I needed one that was 33 inches wide, and this one was advertised as 33 inches wide. However, I didn't measure it myself. The person who took the measurements was taking the inside measurements and not the full dimensions. So this is way too big for the ambulance. It's not going to fit. I do think it's going to fit in my square body truck though, so all hope's not lost. It's still a good deal on a good aluminum radiator, but that still left me needing a radiator for the Hecto. Alright, so I looked again on Facebook Marketplace. Couldn't find one to those dimensions. So getting a little desperate, I hopped onto Summit and I just went ahead and got another one. So that would be, let's set this little guy down without damaging it. This one should be a direct drop-in replacement for the one that we burned a hole through. It's got the plastic caps on the end. I'm not too horribly worried about it. I also took out the air conditioning out of the ambulance, so that's going to add a little bit more extra airflow over this radiator. And if I got to put some fans in, that's not the end of the world either. We'll see if it does the cooling that we need. If not, we'll go back to the drawing board. But let's attack some of these cooling issues. Alright, the old rubber radiator mounts are in there, and if it's not broke, don't fix it. Got the new radiator. So mount. Hey, those mount up pretty good. Okay. Let's go. Oh, I gotta move the camera because it's sitting on the bracket I need. Hey, buddy. What's up, kiddo?
Recording?
Yeah.
Oh wait, are you gonna like put this on YouTube?
Alright. There's this hood one up higher. Nope. That's all we got.
Alright, first let's actually check this dipstick again. You're a dipstick. Your mom's a dipstick. You don't say that. Alright. It is significantly low, alright? It's below the ad. In fact, there's one drop on here. So let's add some and see. Can you see me? Am I in the camera? I don't know. Let's see. Here's my phone. Hey. Okay. Alright. It is low. Fingers crossed. Check trans in park. Hot engine idling vehicle level. Yeah, sure. Yeah. We'll do that. We're gonna, you go right there. You go right. No, okay, no, you go right. Stop it. Right. Go to your home. What's that movie from? All right. God, it'll be awesome if this thing actually shifts. I really don't want to pull this motor out and buy a transmission or pay to have a transmission rebuilt, or to take it to a transmission shop and have some guy look at me and be like, didn't you see that the widget doomagogger is not connected? And then I'd feel stupid. I always forget about those. Alright. We're gonna do some more. Here we go.
Yeah. I'll get in there.
Okay. I'm coming out. Huh. Okay, yep, she's got fluid in her now. You know, up to the where you put your knuckle through on the dipstick. Okay, let's start her up and see. Let's see how far down the radiator is, because she's leaking in a couple places. Yeah, she's down about 2 inches from yesterday. You know, I heard a word of wisdom for a leaky radiator. Some old timer told me yesterday that if you pour a bottle of black pepper down a leaky radiator, it'll seal it up. Have you ever heard that? It said it goes through the system and it expands. It finds the cracks and it seals them. I don't know. I never tried that. That's kind of cool. All right. Let's see if it starts and see if it shifts. All right, take two. I had to move my truck. Let's see if I get this cold-natured monster to... fluid in your transmission, it'll work. So do I drive it? I think I should drive it. I feel like I should drive it. You want to see me drive it? Yeah. I don't know if I got brakes. I'm on a hill. Maybe I move the chocks up about 10 feet or so, and then I pop her in gear and see if she stops, and then I can decide. Yeah? I gotta go tell Mama. Alright, so here's my idiot's method to checking brakes when you live on a hill. Got some chocks in front of the rear wheels right now. I'm going to take those chocks and I'm going to move them forward in front of the front wheel by about 10 feet, 6 feet, 7 feet, give or take the metric system. And we're going to go ahead and put her in gear and we're going to see if she stops. And then hopefully, if it doesn't stop, we'll stop on the chocks. And if it jumps the chocks and, you know, I'm too stupid to put it into park, I have one more method to stop it. My truck. Let's see.